Nation. I'm Charlie Moon alongside the coach is trying to make the squad playoffs. So Jim Moore used to say that back in the day. It was one very specific press conference. Kind of went down in glory, so to speak. One of those sound bites that'll never be forgotten. Jim Moore's Colts playing horrible at the end of the season. They were one of those NFL teams that year that an enigma. They ended up making the playoffs. NFL team at that point they were playing 16-game seasons, and they were like 7-9, and they ended up in the playoffs. Like, playoffs? I didn't want to talk about playoffs. But guess who else gets to talk about playoffs and the possibility of that? It's South Effingham Mustang Nation and Nate Clark. Hey, it's got to feel good, Nate Clark. It's got to feel good, Nate Clark. I know y'all got to take care of business, and there's this whole crazy tiebreaker thing. But the bottom line, you guys get a W this week up there in the Augusta area at Lakeside. You're on to the playoffs. How does that feel?
Well, we're really excited about this opportunity. The kids have worked extremely hard all year long. Really, the goal's been, hey, let's make it to the playoffs this season. And it's right here on the line. We're right here where we, obviously we're going to have to win this upcoming Friday. If we don't win, we're going to have to rely on a couple crazy things happening. But we can't worry about that. We just need to go and do what we need to do and take care of business and win and get into the playoffs and play next Friday night.
All right, so for the people watching, of course, we're recording out on late Tuesday afternoon. But for the people watching, we won't go into the whole entire crazy scenario of the tiebreaker. But the bottom line is, if you guys win at Lakeside on Friday night, you will be the 4 seed out of your region, 6A. What number region are you? I should know the answer to that.
It's Region 2, 6A.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So you'll be the 4 seed out of Region 2, 6A. You don't have to go through the whole entire tiebreaker, but you know what that just that first tiebreaker is, if just in case you guys lose on Friday night.
Well, here's the deal. We're playing Evans. The winner of that game essentially goes to the playoffs. If we lose to Evans, we'll be in a 3-way tie if Lakeside beats Glenn. Now, if Lakeside beats Glenn, we will have beaten Lakeside. Lakeside will have beaten Evans. Evans will have beaten us. We would be everybody would have 2 wins against each other. So it then goes to points given up with a maximum cap of 25 points per game. So we've given up, I guess, when we played Lakeside, 13 points. And then, obviously Evans lost to Lakeside 21-20. So you add up all those, and then there was 26 points scored by us against Lakeside with a cap of 25. So it all goes into basically, if that happens, there's an 8-point differential that we have an advantage on Evans.
And that's probably the one and only reason why you came into this season and said, you know what, I'm going to suck the life out of the clock all year long, and I'm going to go to the wing T, right? I know that's what you're thinking about, right?
It's coming down to the end differential. But we take care of business. None of the stuff I just said we have to worry about. It's too confusing. Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. It makes my head hurt. Let's just win, take care of business, and let's get in the playoffs.
If that was your intention going into the season, you had this idea that there was going to be an 8-point differential, and it was going to be good that you guys didn't give up a certain number of points because you were able to slow that clock down a little bit, then you need to be like counting cards in Vegas or something. I don't know. But anyway, hey, we got another guy with us, William Christmas. And William, you've been on – were you on the spring show with us last spring? Were you one of the guys on then?
Yes, I was.
I can't remember. Okay, yeah. I thought so. Okay, all right. Yeah, and you're one of the guys that led the way on defense this past week with 7 tackles, a couple tackles for loss, and then I always trip out when I see this number, like a half sack. You had 1.5 sacks. Who else is credited with the half sack with you on that half sack? Do you know?
Yeah, that was Matt. That was our Matthew Moore. That was our lineman. He kind of came in. I had him wrapped up, and we both took that QB down.
Gotcha. So I wasn't I didn't play football growing up. My big thing was baseball, and I can remember so many times. We hit a hard ground ball and the holder shortstop makes a bad throw to first base or something. And we could talk about team all we want. We want to win, but I have to tell you, man, how many times I'd get back your dugout and I'd go to the scorekeeper and say, "Hey, what'd you give me a hit on that, right?" Any times where you talk to the score and say, "Hey, we get a half sack on that? What we get?" I mean,
yeah, I was asking Mac. I was like, that really wasn't a half a sack. You just give me that full sack. I'll have 2 sacks for the game.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. Straight up, honestly. The normal answer will be, "No, I'm only concerned with the team." And I know, man. I know the most important thing is the team win. But it's good to hear that players can talk about. Well, yeah, the most important thing is for us to win. But don't get me wrong, I want my half sack too, man. Let's just roll with it. But anyway, having a good time with that. Coach Clark. Hey, there was a familiar name on the stat sheet the other day, and that was Martell. He had almost 100 yards rushing. Almost 100 yards rushing. He has had a big year. He had 19 carries for 87 yards. He's just a stud on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, I mean, he's really a stud everywhere. He plays both ways, returns some kicks for us. We utilize him however we can. He came into the year not necessarily in the position that we're using him, because offensively we had Jamari Fields, and Jamari was our running back, and he ended up getting hurt early in the year towards ACL. And with that happening, we've had to make a bunch of adjustments and moves. And Justin, even though he essentially played the same position, we've had to almost really redo a little bit of ways that we were thinking and doing things offensively, because we kind of were building a lot of things around Jamari, and Justin's been able to step up in that role, and he's carried the ball all year long. He's done extremely well. He's played on both sides. He started on defense most all year long. Has a bunch of big plays on defense, couple picks, pass broken up. Really good tackler. We played him at safety and at corner, and then he returns kicks for us as well. So big time player.
You guys got the scoring going early in the ball game or late in the first quarter. Ward had a 2-yard score and a 2-point try failed. Was that an intentional 2-point conversion, or was that a fire drill off a bad snap off an extra point?
No, that was my decision. I made a kind of a bonehead call. And
you see more coaches doing that in the last few years at the high school, the NFL, and the college levels.
We lined up in the swinging gate formation. After you score, we line the swinging gate, and numbers dictate whether or not you're going to throw the ball to the right, throw the ball to the left, or run the option. Based on the numbers, or if they have it all covered up, you just decide to kick it. And a lot of times you just line up and let them line up to it, and the next thing you know, you go and kick it anyway. But we had the numbers; they didn't to actually do the option play, and we did that, and it just wasn't successful. We didn't execute it very well.
In the second quarter, both squads go back and forth with some empty possessions, but you end up with a couple field goals. Quick with 23-yarder with 3.5 to go in the first half, and then the end of first half at a 36-yarder. It's got to be good knowing that you've see a lot of high schools, even at the 6A level and the 7A level. Oh, well, I back up a little bit. You don't see a lot of schools at the 6A, 7A level that don't have good field goal kickers, but you see enough where a 36-yarder is a big question. It's got to feel good for you guys knowing that you had a guy behind Mr. Rickman who's now spending time at the 1A level at Georgia State. It's got to be good knowing you got another competent guy behind him and quick.
We feel very confident with Tyler. He does a really good job. He's been pretty consistent. Anytime we're underneath 50 yards, we think we have an opportunity. I think he's kicked along this year in the game of 43 might be the longest that he's executed in the game this year. But we feel confident. We were hoping we could drive the ball down and get 6 points out of those two drives. One of them was set up real nice. I think it was William had a big old he knocked the ball out, and Matt recovered it there for a fumble, and we were in great field position. We went down and set ourselves up for a field goal and or tried to get 6, but we ended up settling for a field goal, which we were fine. But none of it would have happened if William here didn't get a big strip sack.
Yeah, so that was another number you had on the sheet. One forced fumble. Take us through that play.
So basically, I just lined up, and their guard went down blocked, tackle went down blocked. I think they had this wing, maybe kicked out somebody. They had a running back coming up. I think it was C gap or B gap, and he just decided to go and block B gap. He didn't feel like kicking me out. So I punished him for it.
You punished him for it. Hey, so a lot of times, you got that lingo in there, down blocking. Talk to the people. There's probably some people that'll see this later on this week. Down block. You hear that a lot of times with guys talking football. Tell the people in layman's term what a down block is, or blocking down. What does that really mean?
So it's really just a lineman, like I guess in this situation, he was blocking towards the away from the ball. So the ball's going this side, he'd be right here, and he'd down block this side to cut someone out, and then have a gap.
Almost like the same idea behind a counter play, or you're creating that wedge going the opposite. I got you. Yep, down blocking. And a lot of people hear that and they go, "What exactly you're talking about?" And in your case, you're saying you took advantage of that and got your own version of a crackback and ended up. I mean, your own version. I know what a crackback is. Offensive side of the ball. You're thinking about it, but you kind of flip the idea of a crackback and end up, excuse me, and forcing that fumble. And you put your guys in position. You're going off the field. You got to be telling them to score. But you spend a little bit of time on the offensive side of the ball too, don't you?
Me, not so much.
Well, who am I?
He did earlier in the year. Yeah. Probably when you interviewed him in the spring. He started off. He was playing on both sides of the ball.
Okay, that's where I'm getting that from. You spent a little bit of time on fullback. Hey, but with numbers like that and numbers like you had the other night, your coaches know what they're doing by focusing on the defensive side of the ball. So you go in at the halftime, coach. 12-0. Any adjustments, or just keep on keeping on?
Yeah, we just need to keep on doing what we were doing, and we need to figure out how to get the ball into the end zone because we've been close. We actually scored once on that drive, and it got called back for a hold. But we need to figure out how to execute and try to get those points. So defensively, we just need to keep doing what they were doing. They were doing exactly as they had done on film, and we practiced it all week long. And we knew that they had a really good running back. He was a big guy, and he ran downhill hard, and we knew that they were just going to keep feeding the ball, and at some point he'd probably break one.
And you come out in third quarter, a couple of empty possessions both ways, and then last 3 minutes, 2:42 mark, short 2-yard touchdown run by that running back from Grovetown to make it 12-7. Things kind of tighten up for you a little bit. You kind of feel it getting tight there. You got to feel that pressure, William. I know you guys in the defense, you played them. You played a good running back like that so long, and then finally the dam kind of breaks and they finally break through and score. You got to go over there and tell that offense, say, hey, let's go, y'all's turn. Got to put it in, and they did. Do you guys push each other like that? Sometimes the offense is going to be running really well. Some nights the defense is going to be running really well. And I know you guys. I'm not saying it in a sense of, hey, you guys are stinking it up tonight. Y'all better. But do you push each other? Hey guys, let's go. Do y'all push each other as units?
Yeah, we like doing that. We like setting up offense, really good positions on the field, and stop them on fourth down. We'll be like, hey, get this. Y'all use this to y'all's advantage. Like I'll strip sack somebody. They'll get the ball, force fumble. We'll put offense in a really good position, and we'll be coming off the field. They'll be coming back, and we're like, make something out of it. Let's go.
Yeah, and then that did happen later on, or not exactly as far as field position goes, but the 10:04 mark in that fourth quarter, make it 19-7. Ward had a 12-yard touchdown run. Talk about that possession and the finish of that drive, Coach.
Well, after the touchdown that Grovetown scored, we got the ball and we had to march 80 yards down the field. In I believe it was 11-play drive, 80 yards at 8 o'clock, and we were able to punch it in, and that was good. And We had a lot of confidence after that, and that gave us a score of I believe 19-7, and became a 2-possession game again. And I think our kids felt quite confident at that point in time.
Yeah, and when you talk about 80-yard drives in high school, there's not a lot of those. I don't even the teams that spend time in the top 10 year after year, like the Bufords and the schools like you used to coach at, Lee County, everybody. There's not a lot of 80-year-old. Listen to me. What word am I talking about? 80-yard drives out there to be had. But when an offense like you guys are running, you're running that wing T and you're pushing that 4 and 5 yards of play. When you do put an 80-yard drive together, it really sucks the life out of the opposing defense, the opposing squad, because you just knocked off 5, 6, 7 minutes of the clock. Does that put a lot of pressure on your guys not to make any mistakes?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, it's extremely difficult to do that because you're asking a bunch of 16, 17, 18-year-old kids to 11 different guys to execute properly over and over and over and over again without making mistakes. And there's going to be mistakes made, but there can't be any major mistakes. You can't have penalty flags. You can't have negative plays. With the offense we run, it's to gain 3 or 4 yards of play. It's not that the plays aren't set up to gain 10, 11. We don't have chunk plays really in there. We don't drop back and throw the ball, but if the kids can execute and not make mistakes, we can drive down the field and do exactly that. And we've actually done a lot better job later in the year than we did at the beginning of the year doing that.
Let me ask you, when you're pushing for a drive, when your idea is pushing for long drives like that, and you're running a wing tee, or not necessarily just to run it, when you're predominantly run oriented and you want 4 and 5, 3.5, 4 and 5 yards of play, is there ever a time where you, in practice or in a ball game, where you tell your lineman, because like we just said, you can't have that 10-yard mistake because your offense is not built. Well, we'll just drop back and get a chunk play 15 yards, we can make it up. Do you guys ever talk in practice or in a game to players about, hey, let the guy go, like the defensive lineman or the linebacker in certain situations, if the ball's on the other side of the field, hey, if he's got you beat, just let him go. We can't have the hold there. Let him go. Do y'all ever talk about that?
Yeah, you just tell them to be smart. Don't do anything stupid that would get you in trouble. Not necessarily have to block back behind the play. No dumb crackback penalty blocks. Nothing that would jeopardize and hurt the team. But no, we're telling them to do the best they can, but be smart about the situation. Understand what the situation is.
And talk about being smart. You got a smart kid next to you. 3.7 GPA, which is awesome, but a 12.20 on the SAT? Good gracious, man. I mean, how do you that's a major balance. That's a major balance. And I like asking kids this all the time. It's a generic question, and it's a tired and true question. But how do you balance that? Because that's not just a smart kid that has the right kind of schedule and they can manage getting good grades. You got to put a lot of work into that with a 3.7 and a 12.20. How do you manage all that?
I just don't really mess around on the days I have off or after practice. I get home. I got to get what needs to be done. Get my academics sorted out. Do everything right at school. Get all my work done. Study. Not really do anything like besides that, just sports and academics for me.
It seems like you got a great father figure. One of your heroes is your dad, and that's because he gets up early and he comes home late, never complains about anything. So when you talk about time management, that's what you're talking about, and you're talking about that grind. So you learn a lot of that from your dad.
Yes, I do.
And back to the ball game in that fourth quarter, you had that 2-score lead, 19-7. Then Grovetown, they kind of tightened it up a little bit there at the 6-minute mark. The big 31-yard touchdown pass. What'd you tell your team there up 19-14? Because at that point, I mean, really, that game was at that point in the season, that was a play-in game. That was, or not necessarily a play-in game, but a playoff game. And now this week's another one. You get to that point, you got 6 minutes left. What do you tell your guys?
No, man, it got crazy there. We thought we had them stopped. We had them about 3rd and 30, and they called a late hit on the quarterback, and it was ticky-tack, to be honest with you, which gave them an automatic first down. And the next play, they did a double move and scored a long touchdown, and then they got the opportunity to kick off. They kicked an onside kick, and we recovered it. We had our hands team out there because we knew they were probably going to do that or potentially could. And then the second play in that drive, we just need to get a couple first downs. And at that point in time, if we could do that, we thought we could run the clock out. And we hadn't turned the ball over since the Effingham game. We'd gone, I guess, 3 or 4 games in a row without a turnover. And sure enough, at that most critical point, we turned the ball over on a fumble, and they recovered it right there at midfield. But it kind of got, it got a little nerve wracking right there. But our boys, they knew what was ahead of them, and I have a lot of confidence in our defense. They had made stops all year. They made stops all night. We had the guys we wanted out there, and they came up and they did what they had to do to secure that victory.
So the fumble was around midfield with about how much left on the clock?
Yeah, probably about 4 minutes left. There wasn't a lot of time. We knew if they were able to get down there and score, it was going to be tough for us to drive that field and the amount of time left to score ourselves. So we had to stop.
And that's another situation where you really have to trust your process, because when you're running an offense that your goal is to get 3.5 to 5 yards of play, it sucked the life out of the clock. The flip side of that, the only problem with that is if you're behind late in the game or behind a couple scores early on, you start playing mind games with yourself. How are we going to get chunk plays? That has to be in the back of your mind in tight games like that, where either you may lose the lead here late and you're going to have to score. It's kind of like we had a big sponsor step up last week and sponsor the middle school championship game of the conference of all things. It was Richmond Hill and Ebenezer, one of y'all's feeder schools. That thing was nuts. And Richmond Hill had the ball, middle school had the ball in their own 1 yard line with like a minute and 50-something seconds left. How in the world are they going to score? They just said, hey, let's get it to our best player and see if he can break a few runs. And he did. They hit a big pass play, but that's kind of the same thing you guys are looking at. It even makes it even that much more pressurized when if you get the ball with a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, you got to figure out a way to come up with chunk plays when that's not your thing.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So luckily our defense, they fought hard. They did everything they were supposed to do, and led by William and the boys. I know in the first play Matt made a big play and tackle for loss, and we were able to stop them those last couple of plays. And then on that last play, the guy chunked it up, and William he tagged up quarterback pretty good right there, and we were able to stop them there and secure that win. And we were able to take the ball like a minute. We need it and finish the game that way.
So your pressure on that last play probably had a little bit something to do with it, right? Don't you think, William?
Yeah, probably. I hit him pretty hard 2 times, so I don't think he wanted to get hit again.
Did he say anything to you, or did you help him up after the play?
I helped him up after the play. I didn't want it to be like, hatred or anything. He's a good player, so.
I got you. Hey, real quick, rounding things out in the next 2 minutes. Evans coming up. They were kind of enigma when I started looking at some of their numbers. They're really balanced on offense, but they average a little over 300 yards a ball game, and their record does not speak to that. Can you speak to that, Coach Clark?
They're really, really good on offense. There's no question about it. And, they got some good players defensively. And, we're going to have to play the best we possibly can because they're a good football team. Coach Davis is going to have those guys prepared, ready to go. We're going to have to play the best game we played all year if we're going to win because they are very, very, very talented.
All right. Hey, man. Guys, I want nothing more. You know, I had every intention of wearing my Soham hat that you gave me last year, Coach Clark, but I forgot it. I just forgot to bring it with me. So I want to make sure that I'm wearing my Soham hat, and I wear it around town to Statesboro sometimes. It don't go on my wall and stay there as a nice, pretty thing to look at. I wear it sometimes. So hey, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what you guys have done there at Mustang Nation the last few years. And I want to keep that rolling. I want to have you guys on next week. Well, I don't want it to be a show where, you know, it was great, yeah, da 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 da. No, I want to be getting ready for you guys taking down a 1 seed somewhere on the road as Road Warriors next week. How about it?
That sounds great. What do you think about that, William?
Sounds great.
All right, William, you take your smart self. Y'all get out there at practice. Whatever you got to do tonight, hit the books. But,
Yeah.
Good luck, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you, Charlie.
All right, thank you.
All right, good job.
Now with Nate Clark from Mustang Nation, they'll be going on the road to take on Evans on Friday night. And long story short, they don't have to win to get in the playoffs. That's the only way they're guaranteed themselves. Crazy three-way tie situation. If they lose, let's hope the Mustangs just go ahead and take care of business at Evans. Again, thanks for joining us on Mustang Nation, the Nate Clark Show, powered by Christina Dozier, Dozier Real Estate. We will talk to you guys next week.